Ladies and gentlemen, hello. We are going to be talking about our Unit 3 TDA. In this video, you're going to learn everything that you need to know in order to complete your Unit 3 TDA in a very successful manner. We're going to start with our text-dependent analysis instructions, and the two texts that we'll be focusing on for the purposes of this TDA will be Flesh and Blood So Cheap and Uprising. The first thing that we need to do is we need to look at the prompt. Our prompt is asking us to compare Margaret Haddock's account of the Triangle Factory fire with historical facts, and we also have to explain how she has used and altered history in the text Uprising. So just like we did with the graphic organizer for this, we're going to be explaining how the author of Uprising used real facts to convey her fictional story about the Triangle Factory fire. You guys have a graphic organizer in Google Classroom that you've already received feedback and a grade for. You're going to need to have this graphic organizer handy when you create your TDA. The very first thing that we're going to look at as far as writing the essay is going to be the introductory paragraph. Now, the introductory paragraph needs to start with a hook, and it needs to be an interesting question that gets the readers pulled into your paper. Understand, you're not writing about the Triangle Factory fire. So your hook shouldn't be, what was the Triangle Factory fire? Or how many people died in the Triangle Factory fire? You need to have a hook that focuses on how authors use real events to write fictional stories. You can phrase it as a statement or a question. The choice is going to be up to you. After you've determined what your hook is, you're going to need to supply your readers with some background information. And for the purposes of this TDA, you're actually going to have several sentences worth of background information. You're probably going to need a sentence or two to explain what the Triangle Factory fire was and when it happened, maybe even where it happened. And you're going to need another sentence to explain or introduce the text, Flesh and Blood So Cheap. You're going to want to tell me who it's by, and you're going to want to tell me what it was about. The same thing for Uprising. You're going to want to introduce that text. You're going to want to introduce Margaret Haddock's as the author, especially because we're going to be focusing on her a lot in this TDA. And you're also going to want to tell the readers what Uprising was about. I would make sure my readers understand that Uprising was a fictional depiction or a fictional version of the Triangle Factory fire. So you're going to have quite a bit of background information. The next thing that you're going to need is a thesis statement. And remember, your thesis statement is your claim plus 3 reasons. For the purposes of this TDA, because we haven't written very many TDAs this year and it's taken us quite a bit of time to get through them, I'm going to go ahead and supply everybody with the claim, and you are going to fill in your own reasons. Your thesis statement should begin like this. Please notice my claim is in blue. Margaret Haddock's used and altered history in her story, Uprising, when she wrote about blank, blank, and blank. In your Google Classroom, you should have access to your graphic organizer, the one that you received feedback from, and you should be able to take the 3 or 4 events that you wrote about on that graphic organizer and sum them up very briefly to help them to fit into this thesis statement. For example, your thesis statement might look like this. Margaret Haddock's used and altered history in her story, Uprising, when she wrote about the fire escape breaking, the water hose not working, and the elevator rescuing the girls from the fire. I just made the third one up on the spot because I don't have a third one listed, but I am sure that you do in your graphic organizer. You're going to want to pick the 3 events on your graphic organizer that you feel like you have the best quotes for, the ones that are going to help your paper be the strongest. Once you have established your hook, your background information, and your thesis statement, you are finished with your introductory paragraph. And the next paragraphs that we're going to need to be focusing on is we're going to need to be focusing on our body paragraphs. In our body paragraphs, we're going to have a claim, a reason, evidence, and an explanation. These are color-coded, so when we look over here at the example, you'll see my claim in my paragraph is blue, my reason is green, my evidence is red, and my explanation is in black. I'm going to read this paragraph out to you, and you're going to want to make sure that you're following along with the color coding pattern. Margaret Haddix used and altered history in her story Uprising when she wrote about the fire escape breaking. In Flesh and Blood So Cheap, the author informs readers that several girls were killed during the fire when the fire escape broke. Flesh and Blood So Cheap 271, and please ignore my typo. Margaret Haddix uses this very real situation in her fictional version of this event by stating, but she pulled back a little, reconsidering. She shifted her weight back from the foot that was on the fire escape to the knee perched on the windowsill. And in that moment, the fire escape just fell away. This alteration of history gives readers an idea of how those who were really involved with the Triangle Factory fire might have felt watching their coworkers fall to their death on the fire escape. I kept my explanation very specific to the topic of the fire escape, and I also explained why Margaret Haddix probably included that little bit of information about the fire escape. She wanted her readers to feel connected to that moment. She wanted her readers to understand how scary that probably was for the people involved. Please note, I have my first piece of text evidence up here and my second piece of text evidence down here. I did paraphrase from Flesh and Blood So Cheap, and I did use a direct quote from Uprising. You might want to consider doing the same thing. It might make it a little bit easier for you to write. All of your body paragraphs should be formatted just like this. The only thing that you're going to need to add to your body paragraphs that I did not add to this one will be transition words. Body paragraph 1 might say, one way Margaret Haddix used and altered history in her story. Your body paragraph 2 might say a second way or another way. And your body paragraph 3 might say a third or a final way. It just depends on what transition phrase you'd like to use, but please just make sure that it's appropriate and it fits your TDA. And the last thing that we're going to need to talk about will be the conclusion. In your conclusion, you'll want to restate your thesis, summarize your main points, and explain to your readers why this topic matters. Why do authors use or alter history? Why does somebody take the time to take historical events that have really happened and make a fictional version of them, especially for children? Why would an author do that? Once you've answered these questions, or once you've answered this question in your conclusion, you can go ahead and wrap up your paper, edit it, and make sure it's ready to go. Now, one thing that I want to make very clear is where you are going to be typing this paper. Once you go into No Red Ink, you are going to see where you have an assignment that says Unit 3 TDA. It's due on February 26th, and I did not select this assignment to allow late submissions. If you're going to turn it in late, you're going to have to email it to me. I will not be accepting it in No Red Ink after this time. February 26th will be the deadline. You're going to go ahead and open up this assignment, and it is going to give you a little tutorial. I will let you guys look at the tutorial on your own at your own pace, and we'll just get right to the TDA. We're going to start writing, and right up here you will see our prompt. Compare Margaret Haddock's account of the Triangle Factory fire with historical facts and explain how she has used and altered history in the text Uprising. You're going to want to have a title, you'll need to have an introduction, your body paragraphs, and your conclusion. The great part about No Red Ink is that it is going to advise you through this entire TDA process. When you do your introduction, it's going to tell you the same things that I told you. You'll need a hook, a bridge or background information, and you'll need a thesis. When you get to your body paragraphs, you'll need a topic sentence, which is your claim and your reason, the C and the R on the PowerPoint that I just showed you. You'll need evidence, and you'll need an explanation. When you get to your conclusion, you'll have a restatement of your thesis and your most important ideas, and you'll have the so what. So why does this matter? Why am I writing about this? And the answer is not because Ms. Rivers is making me. The answer to the so what is going to be your answer to this question. For what reason do authors use or alter history? Why do they do that, especially when it comes to children? Right here are all of the instructions that you're going to need to complete your TDA. I have given you a model paragraph in our presentation. Right here, you have a model paragraph. You have your graphic organizer in Google Classroom, and you have the instructions as to where this TDA is submitted in No Red Ink. If you have any questions, please revisit this video. If you have any questions after revisiting the video, absolutely feel free to ask me in class, email me, private comment in Google Classroom, whatever you need to do, but you need to make sure that you are working diligently on this TDA. Let me know if I can do anything to help you guys. Good luck.